I'm just going to put out about 50 baits, top up the old swim. You're the most overqualified boilie caddy I've ever seen.
Nice and spread then, not too tight.
Yeah, I would like to say it's inaccuracy, but I'm doing it on purpose, mate, because it's worked so well for me this year. Ever since I got on the cell boilies, fishing a syndicate that was pretty much stitched up on one type of fish meal bait, and you know I've got
same old story.
Yeah, very little time fishing wise, and I needed a bait that was going to basically work for me from the off.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Steve at Mainline and Kev, and they were working on this particular bait, which is now known as the cell. It just sounded just a kiddie, something that would be instant from the off.
Yeah, but still have the long-term
that's the thing.
longevity of a proper food bait.
It's always hard because, you know, when you talk to people, especially when they own the bait company, like, you know, they say it's going to do everything you want it to do, and you're like, well, yeah, it might not, but this one really did, mate. It's one of them baits that.
Mate, you don't have to tell me I was on the end of the phone every time you had another chunk.
But it was literally, it's one of the more I was putting in, the better and better it was getting. It was like, I was getting in a swim and I'm doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is literally 3 baits in the easy stick and then just spraying it over a big area. And I'd have like 3 or 4 spots within that big area, which my hook baits would be on. So it'd be like a gravel hump, a little spot off some bushes. And the idea was that because it was a small lake, the fish would move in, and it'd be the only place on that lake where there'd just be a massive dominating area of boilie. Yeah. And they just.
Plus, you're not chunking all your bait on one spot either, are you?
No, which makes them hard to catch anyway.
Makes them hard to catch. Little lakes like that, they've probably seen it every day of their lives, haven't they?
Exactly. 50 baits. That's what everyone was doing. They were all like marker float, hook bait next to it, 50 baits. Yeah. And I just thought.
It's so predictable, isn't it?
Oh, mate, absolutely so predictable. And like I say, I caught my first English 40-pounder on the cell, a fish called Swirly, and a ruck of other 30s and stuff, and it's just been brilliant, mate. And the best bit about it is what I'm doing, getting in a swim, right?
It's so simple.
Yeah, finding my spot, exactly. Yeah. The baits are going in the stick, and I'm just spraying him in that big area. And then what I do is I tend to rest my swim. So I did it on Lakelands, and I've done a similar thing on some of the lakes on this complex. Nerf. Back in sort of 2007, again, same thing, sprayed a load of bait in an area and rested it in the day, fished it at night, and the fish were just straight on that cell. And as the week was progressing, that bait was just getting better and better and better. There was a lad on there on our trip who was using exactly the same fish meal that was being used on that syndicate, ironically.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he'd caught nothing for 4 nights. Give him some of the cell, and he didn't blank again and caught a 53-pound common, So Darren was made up. And that's how I found it, mate. Just literally keep scattering it in. Nice big area. It's not like people might think it's lazy or you're doing it on purpose, but it's not. It's get them carp moving. It makes them so easy to catch, mate, because by the time they get to your hook bait, they've probably picked up 70, 80 baits spread over a big area. So there's no suspicion. When they finally hit the lead, it's just like, oh no, I've finally been done. And they've got away with it.
Makes your rigs work so much more effectively as well. Obviously it ties in with sort of rigs you're using at the moment as well.
Yeah, it does.
KDs, you're getting them moving between baits, aren't you?
Big hair, separation.
Yeah, they're not sitting on a spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's, mate, particles and all that type of stuff. Certainly the way Dan fishes, a big spread of a big spread of particles, but he does it so tightly, it works for him, and he gets a lot of fish in a small area, and that's when you do them. With this, I feel that any fish that move into my area, if it was 1 or 2 or 3, as long as they feed, I will end up catching that 1 or 2 carp because they're feeding without caution. Where if I had the same 1 carp on a small area with say 10 baits, and he come down to feed, I wouldn't be as confident as nailing him if he was feeding over a 20-yard square. So that's the situation, mate. I've topped up the area.
Top tactic.
Let's see what happens. Right, let's get back to the swim.
As the lady in Total Recall said, get ready for a surprise. Little baby whale. Right, we've got to zero the scales to make sure he is. Right. Do you want to zero those? I've done it on the other ones, but it pretty much bottomed them out because they're only 60-pound scales. So, God, it's
huge. What was your PB?
60.08.
It's bigger than that. It's quite a bit bigger than that.
Go on.
I'm going to give you. I'll give you 62. 62.10.
Come on! Oh man!
Right.
Ooh! Oh my God! Oh my God! What a carp!
I can't.
Words can't describe it, can they? Right, let's hoist her up. Come on, my beauty. Oh. Oh.
Sling out, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Oh. Chill, baby, chill. Oh. Oh, look at that. Oh, 62.10. Was it 62.10?
62.10.
Oh, chill. Oh, look at that. What a beast. Taking on the new mainline Grange. Size 6 wide gate B. Hybrid soft hook link. Oh, get on the main line. Look at that. Oh, so heavy. Oh. Oh. What a fish. What a fish. Tamed on the 12-foot 3 3/4 infinities. Oh, hardly fought on the way in. And then went a bit mad under the rod tip, grounded itself because it's so deep. Oh, what a fish. Oh, I've got to put him down. Look at that. 62.10. I love you. The business. How about that, eh? Wicked. Oh, what a way to end my week in this swim. And I've still got more to go. Oh. Oh. I love you. Don't want to let her go. Come out this way, baby. She wants to go. And there he is, the other half of the brace, 40 pounds, 12 ounces. Oh, well chuffed with this, 100 pounds of carp in about 15 minutes. Chill, baby, chill. Both taken on the 12-pound adrenaline. Dyeworth tapered leaders. Whacking it out 120 onto that baited spot, littered with chopped up Grange and the bait tech chili hemp. A winning combination, definitely. Look at that. What a beast. Oh, and he's still very heavy. Well, welcome to a new venue. It used to be called, or it still is called, Domain St Christophe. And it's going to be called next year Gigantica. And I know that because I'm renaming it because I've just bought it myself. It's every carp angler's dream to own their own lake, and this is my first bite from my new lake. I've fished it a few times before myself, and obviously we're going to carry on showing you loads of tackle, tactics and tips. We're going to be going back to Maison de Lac Bleu as well because we've got some massive fish to show you from there later on in the film, but there's plenty to be showing you here. I'm fishing quite a long way out. I've got my new beautifully custom built infinities on, 12-foot 3 3/4, and I'm being stubborn by casting out. I'm putting my freebies out with the rowing boat, but I'm still casting all my rigs. I'm fishing at about 140 yards here with single hook baits over the top of a baited area. a bit too far for PVA sticks. So I'm going to concentrate on getting this fella in, and then we'll be showing you lots of other new bits of tackle and just how to get the very best from them. You can just see the little tiny bit of plastic hanging out of his mouth. This is on a 15mm dumbbell hook bait, just tipped off with a bit of white plastic. We're going to talk to you about plastic baits later in the film because we use them for a lot of our fishing. All I can see is Ali's bum at the moment, so I'm just manoeuvring a little bit. Come on baby, up you come. It's quite a good common, isn't he? £25 look by the look of him. Lovely carp. Come on baby, in you get. In you get. Yes! Got him! Come on! First one. Well chuffed, well chuffed. Right, let's just pull the net away from under him, and sling's already there. I've already zeroed it on my new set of Reuben Heatons. I bought the 120s over here because the 60-pounders aren't actually big enough. There's several 60s and at least 170 in this place, which is very exciting for the future. So he's all zeroed. I always put them on a weighing crook. Reuben do these nice little things that screw into the end of your bank stick there. Make sure it's nice and solid. And he is 28 and a quarter. 28, is he more? No, it's 28 and a half. And there he is, 28 and a half pounds, well chuffed. Like a brand new penny this one, my first one out of my new lake. Hopefully I'll be getting a few more. Wicked.
I'm the proud captor of my first Gigantica carp, and just to be on the safe side, I put it in the sack for a few hours in time for the cameras to get here and get the pictures. Let's talk about the sack a little bit. It's a new tracker sack. It's got a lot of holes in it, allowing a lot of water to flow through and keep the fish comfortable while it's in the sack. Also, it's got some beautiful handles on it, which make it really easy to pick the fish up. But we're going one step better here. I've got the sling at the ready to transfer the fish into to help me get it onto the mat with ease. Another very important part of this is that the toggle system. It's got a thread in it, which allows you to put it straight into the bank stick, making sure that there's no dramas in the middle of the night where the fish might possibly get off the bank stick. That's the biggest nightmare for any carp angler. So that completely eliminates that. So let's just talk about how we're going to do that. Unscrew the toggle. Obviously, if you're with people, it's really helpful, and I always recommend that you get them to help you out when you're taking the fish out of the water. However, if you are on your own, and a lot of anglers are, then having the sling by the water's edge is really, really good practice. Right. Obviously this sack would be fine to take the fish up normally, but you know, they're beautiful carp and I'll try to give them every bit of respect I can. Get the fish up, just make sure the fins are flat against the body, ensuring there's no chance of snapping them. Just carefully, just push it into the sling area, like so. Just gonna pick that up. Obviously with the darkness, if you like, the sack, the mesh covering its eyes, the fish remains pretty calm, so you've got all the time in the world to get yourself sorted. No erratic behaviour. And he's a feisty common carp as well, so he's been really, really good. Right, that's in there. Just going to zip up one side, zip up the other. Okay, once again, check the fins against the body. Obviously you moved it around a little bit, so there's every chance the fish might have moved its fins into a different place, and that's when accidents can happen. So I'm pretty sure everything's perfect there. Make sure you get a good footing. Last thing you want to do is slip, especially when you're in waders. Up we go. Just allow the water to drain out so you're not putting any undue pressure on your own arms. Take the handles. An angry carp, but a happy carp on the way to the scales. So I'm the proud new owner also of a set of Reuben Heaton digital scales. So not only are the master of mechanical, but they've gone all digital. So just have them on the side. I'm going to talk to you about how to zero them because it's a little bit different. The important thing is now, because of those new digital scales, I'm going to transfer the fish from the sack onto the mat and get it zipped up. So it's exactly what I'm going to do now. Really, really good zip on these sacks from Tracker. Got the clips here as well to ensure that the zips never come undone in the water. So lovely bronze Gigantica carp, one of Mr. Fairbrass's babies now. Here we go. Just get that out of the way. Right, okay, so just gonna lift that carp up, move that out of the way. Okay, Armo mat comes complete with one of these zip over tops, ensuring that the fish stays safe and can't disappear off the mat while you're doing a weigh job. So here we go. Right, I've got the sling. Now these new Reuben Heaton scales, recommended that you use them with a crook just to keep them steady, because like a mechanical system they're going to waver, but it's a lot more confusing when you see a number sort of ticking up and down. So get the crook. There's an on tear button. Tear is a posh word for zeroing, so I'm going to switch the scales on. Hopefully it's going to come up in pounds for me. Right, yeah, it's in ounces there, which means pounds as well, so on that goes. So I've got £1 10 ounces. Okay, now I'm going to press tear. Right, that's taken them to 0. So if I take that off, I've got a minus number, which means that's taken into account the weight of the sling. Now I've got 3 minutes to get the fish into it, so I'm going to put that down carefully, get the fish back in the sling. Obviously 3 minutes is ample, so unless you're doing battle with a 70 pounder, which does exist in here, then you should be all right. Okay, fish back into the sling, fins perfectly flat against its body. Now Reuben Heaton do these scales in 66 pounds and 132. For this trip I've got the 132 pound scales because, like I say, Gigantica's got carp to over 70 pounds in here, so I didn't want to fall short. Okay, the moment of truth. Hopefully he's going to go 20 pounds. Sure as. 20 pounds, 6 ounces of absolutely stunning common carp. So let's get it back down and let's get some pictures.
Look at that creature, just short of 37 pound. Another one tamed on the infinities. So let's have a look at what Dyer have got to offer. We're going to start Dyer with something old and something very, very new. So we'll show you the new thing first because we're all very excited about it. That is the new Basie Air. Named that because of the air metal body. It's a different body material from the original Basie that I've been using for the last couple of years, and that has made it nearly 2 ounces lighter than a Basie, which you'll remember is about half the weight of a Tournament 6000T. So they really have taken this further forward. You see there they've stripped away all the little bits of metal, anything they can possibly lose off the reel they have, but obviously it's got the same casting performance as the original Basies. They've changed the line clip as well. That's even kinder to the line, that one. Same length of spool, 45mm spool for extreme range casting. And the boys at Korda have already been putting their orders in for these ones because they look so sexy. An absolutely stunning reel and absolute top of the tree. If you can afford that one, then I'm sure you're going to be the envy of all the other anglers on the lake. And the rod itself, this is the something old, the Infinity Magnum Taper. These are my 12-foot 3 3/4 that I've been using for the last couple of years. Nothing has changed on the Infinity this year. Exactly the same performance, exactly the same build. But the thing they have done is they've brought blanks out, which I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later on, so you can have them built up exactly how you want them. These come in 12-foot 2 3/4, right up to 12-foot 3 3/4, and they've kept the Slim Power Infinity as well, the one that Simon Scott uses for if you're fishing closer in and you want more of a bend in the rod. And then next up, we've got two brand new things here. First of all, the new black Bezier, taken the wooden handle off, and just like the Bezier, they replaced it with this soft sort of rubber one that feels really nice. That's reduced the weight of the reel slightly as well. But the thing to look at is the body. They've got everything as dark as humanly possible, a matte black finish on it, a black spool as well. And if I turn that round, let's just loosen off that quick drag on the front. Just turn that round. They've got that same extra kind line clip. Exactly the same length spool as the original Bezier and the Bezier. 7 ball bearings, just one less than the new Bezier, and an air bail just the same. So the same superb reel, brilliant for casting. It's my #1 choice if I'm fishing at extreme range, but in a dulled down colour for all you tackle tarts out there. And then the rod, this is a blast from the past. The amorphous has come back. They've managed to get some more amorphous wrap, and that's the thing that gives it that lovely fish scale sort of finish on the rod. These ones brought casting forwards about 15 years ago. Casting jumped forwards about 20-30 yards when these came out, and they've managed to bring them back out again. Ever so slightly more progressive action than the originals, slightly less tippy. This is the 13-foot 3 3/4, designed mainly for the European market, but you see there we've got a 50mm butt ring on that as well. Really nice subtle styling. Just right at the end of the handle there, we've just got a little bit of subtle shrink tubing, and then the amorphous logo, a nice subtle reel seat, and then just black whippings all the way up the rod. And this one comes in the original 12-foot 2 3/4, which was the benchmark rod, and you can get that in either a 40mm butt ring version or a 50mm butt ring version. And then obviously this one is for even more power, more distance, or if you're boating your baits out a long way on those big continental reservoirs. So two brand new things there that are going to suit a lot of anglers. And then next up, I'll just get that through there, is the Linear X reel, the new BR reel. So rather than the quick drag facility which you've got on the Beziers, which is the front of the spool, half a turn from free spool to solid, this has got a BR facility. So you just literally pull the handle at the back, and then that turns the reel into a free spool. And then as you wind, that just clips back in, and you're back on the clutch on the front of the spool, which, just like all the Daiwa reels, is super smooth. And if I turn that round, we've got those lovely kind line clips as well on those spools. You get a spare spool with these ones, just like you do on the black Bezier. That comes with a spare spool, so do these. And then you've got double handle, which is basically for balance, so the reel doesn't wobble around anything like as much. Excellent gearing inside, a very robust reel, and if you're looking for something with that free spool facility on it, that's a really good bet. And then the rod is a tournament AKN, very slim blank. I've listened to what people have asked them and said, people have said we want slimmer blanks, we want a matte finish. You notice the amorphous as well has got a matte finish to it, a much slimmer blank, and then very discreet styling on there. This is the smallest one in the range. This is the 12-foot 2 3/4, and if I pick this big fella up next to it, this is the one that I would probably end up going for. This is the 13-foot 3 3/4, very similar to the original Infinity 13-foot 3 3/4 that's now gone out of production. 50mm butt ring, nicely styled, a beautiful sort of wrap over the top of it with a matte finish to it as well, very discreet. And we've had a chuck around with this one. That's a really powerful rod, very fast recovery, and with those big rings on it, you're going to cast an extremely long way. So if money's no object, that's what I recommend from Daiwa. We're going to look at the Daiwa mid-price rods and reels now. So first of all, a rod and reel to match, the linear reel that we looked at earlier on, and a new linear rod. They're giving it a matte finish, and it's got a lovely weave over the top of the rod as well, so it looks really nice. Moving down onto the handle, much thinner than it's been before, so we've got a nice bit of shrink tube there, little Daiwa motif, and then finished off with a little bit of flared shrink tube, which looks really nice. Fixtures and fittings are all really tasty, very subdued. Almost looks like a custom built rod, this one. It comes in 2.5, 2 3/4, 3 pounds and 3.5 pounds. And we've got decent rings all the way down it. So that's the linear set. And then moving down onto another new rod called a Theory. Oh, let's get that out there. Again, very subtle finish to it. It's got a nice weave over the top of it. Shrink tube behind the handle. Again, a nice looking handle there. Nice subtle colours on that. And then again, a flared bit of shrink tube at the end with the Daiwa motif as well. Again, comes in only 12 foot and 4 test curves. It's 2.5 pounds, 2 3/4, 3 pounds and 3.5. So you've got a beefy version to it as well. And the reel I've put on there is the old faithful M-Cast Evo 5000. That only comes in 2 sizes now, 5 and 5.5. This is the one that I use for my floater fishing, to be honest. This is my floater reel with light line on it. A brilliant reel for the money. Really, really good reel for the money. Looks like a 200 quid reel and is nothing like that in price. So another good setup. And if you want an even more cost-effective setup, how about this one? First of all, the rod. It's a Mission X rod, comes in 4 different test curves from 2 1/4 up to 3 pounds. And look at the styling on that. For an excellent priced rod, you've got a really subtle handle there, nice fittings. Behind that, a little bit of shrink wrap on there, and then on the end of the rod as well, a nice thin bit of shrink wrap as well, a matte finish to the rod, and then nice eyes on it, just subtle black whippings all the way down it. Really good value for money, this one. And then the Linear S reel, this is the biggest one in the range. It's the 5500. There's 3 smaller, a 5000, a 45 and a 4000. 4 ball bearings. Again, we've got the BR system, so if I pull that latch, once we're fishing, pull that back, and it goes to a free spool, and then literally turn the double handle and you're back onto the clutch on the front of the reel there, which again is very, very smooth. So if you're on a budget and looking for the top of the range kit for your money, that's what I'd recommend. And I couldn't finish the Daiwa section without showing you these beauties. These are my new toys. 12 foot 3 3/4 Infinity Magnum tapers, the long distance casting rods, but custom built. Bruce Ashby's done these from the tackle box for me. Sorry Bruce, there's a little bit of dirt on that one. Do apologise. He's put a lovely shrink tube handle on there with a little tiny flare that they've called the Fairbrass flare on the end of the rod now. Just a little discreet button on the end. Very, very slim handle. And then a nice black reel seat with a little tiny bit of stainless just either side of it, just to finish it off. No different coloured whippings on the rod at all. And then 50mm butt rings. I think essential, though the high standoff 40mm or 50mm are essential on long casting rods. I've had them put further up the blank than they come on the factory builts, and that's over whipped right the way up to the spigot. And then a 40mm 3-legger, because you can't get them in singles, and then 30, 25, 20 and a 16mm tip. So massive rings. I've been whacking out 140 yards here time and time again without any problem. If you want to have them exactly how you want them, then I recommend you get the blanks off a Daiwa stockist and have them custom built.
£31, long, lean French fighting machine. Look at the barbels on that one. Proper job. Big tail. Caught this on a 2 3/4 pound test curve rod. Great fun playing fish this size on a rod like that. Really get a good buzz off them in the fight. Fantastic. Anyway, it's time to get this one back, see if we can't catch a slightly bigger one.
Over the last 3 to 4 years, bait tech has become an integral part of Korda's success on the bank. Let's take you through some of the products in the range. The first one, the growlers, available in the jar there for longer sessions. And then obviously the small little tin here, perfect for day sessions. You don't need a lot of tigers to catch your fish, so they are absolutely ideal for those day sessions. Moving on to the pellets. Here we've got the new Supermarine halibut. These are the 20mm pre-drill versions. The difference between this and a standard halibut is the fact that they've got higher grade fish meals in them, also a bit of salmon meal and shrimp meal, which gives them that added dimension. The pre-drill ones are available in 20mm, 16mm. I've got some 12s here and 8, so any of them put on a hair, tipped with a bit of plastic corn is an absolutely devastating hook bait. And then we've got the micro ones here, little 4-wheel ones, perfect for putting in a PVA bag to complement them as a hook bait. And then over to the halibut pellet. My good friend Ian Russell rates these better than any pellet he's ever used. These are the 20mm pre-drilled ones. Like I say, if you're going to fish over pellet, why not use one on a hair? A little extender stop can really prolong their time on the hair. Nuisance fish aren't going to break it down that quickly. Really, really good. 12mm also for the pre-drilled and also the 16. And then you've got the micro sizes, 3mm and 4mm for putting in the PVA bag. You can also put these into a spod mix, stodge it up, or scald them and mould them around a method feeder. All really, really good methods that are going to catch you a lot of fish. Finally, moving on to the ground baits, the Voodoo. Been here for a while now, become a household name. My good friend Damien Clark likes to put this in his spod mix. He riddles it down so it descends very slowly through the water, leaving an irresistible cloud. Very meaty, a great carp catcher. And then the Mojo, seen Dan using this in the DVDs, helped him to catch a couple of 60-pounders. Again, very meaty, and it's been developed with the help of Steve Ringer, so you know that's going to be a great product. So I recommend Mainline for boilies and pellets, Bait Tech for ground baits, pellets and particles, altogether a deadly combination.
We're going to look at how to program a Delkin receiver now, but before I do, that little fella there has got 6,000 hours of battery life. Now if you compare that to a lot of the other buzzers receivers, you might get a weekend out of them if you're lucky. 6,000 hours if you use it correctly. So I'm turning it on for the first time, put it onto L, which is local, like that, and it's vibrating in my hand. That's one of the other features. So for all you guys that are hard of hearing out there, you can have it underneath your pillow and it will still wake you up. Right, so if I now pull the buzzer, it's not coming through on there at all. Okay, same with that one. I'm going to do each of them. It's not coming through. So what we need to do is at the back there's a little tiny button, and I need to press that just once, and that'll go all the way through, and I've got the first little LED there, the purple one, going. Now I haven't got a purple buzzer, so what I'm just simply going to do is press it again and it'll move on to the next one. So that's the red one there. So if I pull the red one now, it will pick up that signal. That did it, that means it's got it and it's moved on to the next colour, a white one. The white one is here, so I pull the white one. That's done as well, did it, means it's done. The next one is a blue one. Unlike most people, I haven't got blue Delkins, that's the most popular colour. So I'm just going to press it again to move on to the next one. The next one's green, which is the outside one there. That's done as well. And then the last one is the yellow, which is this one here. Done. That means it's done. So basically it goes through the colours, diddle-id, that's the anti-theft alarm, which I'll show you in a minute, and it's buzzed as well. So when you get this, it comes with the anti-theft alarm switched on straight away and the vibration switched on straight away. We're going to show you later how to turn those off if you want to, but how about this for the anti-theft? So you're away from your rods, you bivvied up back in the trees on one of the big reservoirs and there's people sneaking around, or you're on one of the day ticket lakes that unfortunately have people walking around at night looking to pick up gear. They turn your buzzer off to get rid of it, to take it off the thing. And that, no matter what you do, you turn that back on, pull the buzzer, nothing's going to happen until this gets turned off. So if that's in the back of your bivvy, until you turn it off, that's the only thing that's going to stop that from going off. So a really good feature on that, but you can turn it off if you want to. So let's have a look at how to do that. All you have to do is just press the little button in, turn it on, and then immediately take the button off. So that's armed itself, diddle-id, for the buzzers, and it's vibrating in my hand, so the vibration system's still on. But if we go to this buzzer and then turn it off, nothing, so it's turned off. And to reverse that, you just do exactly the same thing. Turn the receiver off again, press the button down, turn it on, and then take your hand away straight away and it'll reset it. So let's look at turning the vibration system off. So turn it back to off again, put your finger or the baiting needle, whatever, onto the little button, turn it on for 2 pips and then take it away. 1, take it away, again, diddle-id, means it's programmed in for the buzzers still, but it's not vibrating, burglar alarm's not going off, so they're both turned off. If I want to reset it again, I'll just reverse it. So turn it off, press it down, turn it back on for 2 pips, and then it will put the vibration back into it again. And if you want to clear it completely, back to nothing, turn it off, press it down, and basically when it does 1 pip, I'll take it away, give it a couple of seconds, press it again, it'll pip again, and that's cleared it back to the default settings, which is vibro on, burglar alarm on, but none of the buzzers actually programmed into it. So let's do that now. So pressing it down, 1, take it away, 2, take it away, it's vibrating in my hand, and we're ready to go. So if I start again now, I can program all those buzzers in again. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is put 2 blue heads on one of these and show you how to program all the buzzers into one single light on the receiver. So first of all, just turn the receiver on as normal. Just let it go through that. Right, and then hold that down until you get 1 pip and then release. When it's doing that bip, bip, bip means you can program more than 1 head into that same colour on the receiver. Now I've got blue heads on there, so I want to move through to the blue. So I'll just press it again. So red, white, and then blue. Okay, so just activate the first buzzer. Okay, so it's gone did, but it's stayed on blue. So I'll do the next one. Okay, can you see that's flashing 3 times now? So when you actually get a bite, the next one I program in, if we've got a bite on it, it would actually flash 3 times on the receiver. Now I've only got 2 heads here, but you could do 4 into it and then move down to the next colour. So if you wanted to program 24 heads into one receiver, you could do it, which we may need to do on here to get a bite under these conditions. But for now, I'm going to stick with 4 rods. So I'm going to leave the other 2 as it is, and I'm literally going to carry on pressing it to go through the colours. Green, yellow, and that's it done. Still got my burglar alarm on because it's gone back to the default settings and my vibration. So now if I pull the first one, yep, that's just gone off once. See, when it's latching, it's just flashing once on there. And then if I pull the second one, right, and then watch when it's latching, you should get two flashes. See that? It's flashing a couple of times before it pauses, so you know that it's the second rod. So you could start at that end and go that way, start at that end and go that way. And for those of you that have not seen them yet, these are the new night lights from Delkim, the updated version. They've changed the cord so it hangs absolutely beautifully. The actual wire that goes through that is going all the way through the middle, so there's no battery required for the actual head itself. It just runs off the Delkim and it doesn't draw hardly any power, so it's not going to reduce the battery life anything at all really. And whatever's going on in the buzzer is going on in the head as well. So if I pull that up, every time that lights up, that will light up as well. And if you've got night marking on the buzzers, you'll get night marking on the heads as well. And the line clip attachment is an ingenious thing they've done, which they've patented. It's got 1 ball bearing in one side and then a magnet in the other side, totally non-corrosive, so they're not going to fur up over use, and basically they hold together under the same tension every time. So whether you're using thick mono or very, very thin braid, it will still hang on there perfectly. And if I just pull that away, that just clicks through there lovely. So when you get a bite and pick the rod up, they'll just ping off straight away. And then turning it round the other side, if you can see there's a thread in there, so any of the hanger weights that you use on your normal hangers, they'll screw into there so you can add extra weight to stop them going off if it's very, very windy. And to go with that, there's a pivoting hanger support to go with it called a duo carb. So I'm going to attach those underneath the buzzer and show you how they work. The duo carb basically clips in straight underneath the Delkim head, and you could just leave them like that if you want, not actually fishing with them at all. So the hanger's still going to go up and down, it's not going to interfere. But they're basically designed to move up like that. There's a little groove on the hanger. There will actually be attachments for other heads from other bobbins if you want to use them with them, but obviously it's designed to all be used together. So that one's on like that, and then the next one I'll just clip in as well. Now you can extend the arms out if you want. It's all made of carbon, so it weighs absolutely nothing. So hardly any effect on the actual weight of the bobbin. And you can see there you're getting perfect up and down movement on there. And you're not going to get that side to side swinging. So if you're fishing big lakes and it's really windy and they're swinging from side to side and you're getting the odd false bleep, it's not going to happen at all with that. One other little feature with them, if I shorten the arms up and just slacken them off like that, do the same with that one, you can actually fish a completely slack line on them. You see there, the line's gone completely slack. That's taking all the weight of the bobbin there, so if you want to fish a slack line, but then when you get a bite, obviously it all tightens up and gives you brilliant indication. Now the night lights are available in all the different colour heads, so if you want something to match your Delkin perfectly and tell you exactly what rod's going off in the night, they're the things to be with. My small water set of rods are probably far heavier than most people's big water set of rods. And the reason for that is I always like to have something left in the rod so I can pull a little bit harder if I want to. And if those fish do start showing out at range, I can punch a lead out there. Now, a lot of people say that stiff rods pull hooks out of fish. I don't think so. If you've got a good hook hold, you could literally land them on a broom handle. As long as you keep the rod up nice and high and play the fish with the tip of the rod, you should have no problem. So these are my 3 1/4 infinities, and you'll notice straight away they're not the factory built. So I've had these custom made. Unfortunately now you can buy infinity blanks from tackle shops and actually have them custom made, which is something you've not been able to do for the last few years. So if you get in touch with Daiwa and find out where your local stockist is, you can have them built exactly how you want them. Now personally, I like full length Duplon handles, so I've got a nice slim full length Duplon handle on there. I've kept the same reel seat as the standard factory built reel seat, just because I like the shape of them. And then no markings on the rod at all, just a little tiny infinity logo just above the reel there. And the rest of the rod, no markings at all, nice black whippings. I've gone for the high standoff rings all the way down the rod, which does look a bit radical. Not everyone likes that, but the beauty of custom building is you can have whatever rings you want. So if you wanted to have a 50mm butt ring, that would work perfectly on this rod as well. Now, I would advise you, if you're going to buy a new set of rods, buy the heaviest set that you can possibly get away with. So at the moment, I'm fishing one rod at 10 yards out, I'm fishing the other rods maybe 90 yards out. If you become the master of that set of rods and you know exactly how to use them, you'll be able to use them at every single range from underneath your feet right out to as far as you can cast. And the thing I've got against very soft rods is when you're trying to put a bag out a long distance or a fish start crashing beyond your casting range, you're wasting your fishing. You should be able to get out to the fish and you can't. So be the master of a powerful set of rods and it'll give you more options when you go fishing. So if at the moment you're using 2 1/2s, next time you buy rods, maybe go up to a 3 or a 3 1/4. If you're using 2 3/4, maybe go up to a 3 1/2 and just learn to use those rods properly. And I promise you, there'll be fishing situations when you'll be pleased that you've got the extra power. And then going on to reels, these are absolutely the business. Look at that. That is like someone out of Star Trek has redesigned an SS3000. That's the tournament ISO, beautifully smooth. They've got a quick drag on the front, which means the spool tightens up really, really quickly. Absolutely beautiful reels. Nice big line clip as well. Very, very kind to the line. And the line I've got on there is 12-pound fluorocarbon. We've been testing this for probably 12 months now. I've used it in England under very, very snaggy and weedy conditions, and it's come up trumps every single time. I've not had it go at all on fish, and I've been playing big fish, fishing onto bars, and the fish are diving down into deeper water, down the back of the bar, through the weed. Absolutely no problem at all. Now, fluorocarbon is not going to cast anything like as well as the adrenaline. Soft lines like that will go absolutely miles. This will cut your casting distance down quite a bit. I would say this is comfortable for fishing up to probably 100, 110 yards. And a lot of people say, oh, these rods cost 150, they cost 160. Well, in a normal fishing situation with 12 or 15 pound line, being brutally honest, this setup probably works up to about 120 yards with pinpoint accuracy. Anything more than that, I have to go up to my 3 3/4. So if you're going to fish close range up to probably 100 yards, then fluorocarbon would be a really good option for you because it sinks so quickly, and also it's much harder for the fish to see. If you're consistently fishing further than that, then you need to go onto something like adrenaline, which is going to cast a lot further. And on pressured waters like this, not only am I using a fast sinking fluorocarbon, but I'm also using a back lead because I'm paranoid the fish are going to come into contact with a line, so I want everything pinned to the bottom. So once I've cast out, I'll sink the tip of the rod under the water, sink the line all the way out to the rig. Because it's fluorocarbon, it sinks very, very quickly. And then I'll put a back lead on, slide that down into the edge and then slacken off further still so that the fluorocarbon's got the opportunity to pick up all the contours of the lake bed. And then once the fluorocarbon's settled, then I'll put the bobbin on. And you'll notice I've got a very, very light muddy bobbin there. That's what he calls the old school bobbins. I think they only weigh about 3 or 4 grams. I've got a very short chain on. You can see there's hardly any weight hanging on the line there at all because that chain's completely straight and the bobbin's so light, hardly any weight whatsoever, and that gives real positive bite indication. And the Delkims I've got turned up to number 6 on the plus setting because you do get funny bites on these venues. The fish are used to picking up rigs, they know what's going on, they pick it up and they stop. You know, and you might get a little pull up there, that's it. That's all you're going to get. And with a slack line, you need to have it up on 6 to get some sort of indication. And you'll notice there as well, there's nothing coming out of the buzzer. It's all going on inside the bivvy because I've got a cordless receiver in there for my TXI Delkims, so there's no sound going on in the swim because when it's night time and it's very, very quiet, I'm only fishing close in on one rod. I don't want loads of noise coming out the front of the swim, so everything's going on in the bivvy, and that's a great little feature of the Delkims because you can turn them down to absolutely nothing on the head. All the sound can be in the bivvy where you need it. So when you're fishing small waters, be paranoid about the sight of your line, get everything pinned down to the bottom. Definitely try fluorocarbon if you're not fishing very far out. All these things combined can be the difference between catching and not. I've crept over to the opposite side from a bivvy just to trickle a little bit of bait in. Now baiting always is about getting it in there without the fish knowing you're even there, and small water baiting is even more critical. So rather than spodding from one side to the other on the lake, I've crept round and I'm just putting in a few balls of ground bait, or munger as we call it. It's exactly the same as my standard spod mix, so I've got the chili hemp plus the party mix in there. I've chucked a few curried chickpeas in there because I've done well on those before on this venue. Loads and loads of chopped Grange boilies in there as well. I've not put any sweet corn in, and the reason for that is this particular Lake Genetries is absolutely full of roach and they love sweet corn, and I'm going to try and fish some artificial corn on the hair, so I'm trying not to attract the roach in to that area so I don't keep getting loads of little pulls from the roach on my hook baits because they're more than big enough to eat 2 bits of plastic corn. And then to stiffen it up, I've added some Mojo ground bait that comes from Bait Tech, and then also some of the fish meal ground bait that Mainline do to give it a real oily, fishy sort of smell. Because the part of the lake I'm fishing here is a transitional part, so the fish are moving through here. It's not really a holding area. We've got a bay at either end of the lake, which are generally holding areas. If the fish move through here, I want to be able to stop them in their tracks. So I'm going to put out bait all round the marker float and then hopefully stop the fish as they come through. I've got the rods spread fairly well apart. They're probably 2-3 rod lengths apart, which for me is a long way. I've got 2 other rods fishing as well, and they're in different spots. We're going to have a look at those in a minute. But what I'm going to do is just make up about 20 balls. I'm not going to fish in the day at all and just allow the fish a little bit of free food, and then after dinner I'm going to come back and put some more balls in as well. But a trick to get them the same distance every time is to make them roughly the same size and to make them all in one go, because if you keep stopping and starting making balls and washing your hands off, you don't get into a rhythm and they go everywhere. So by making them all in one go, you'll get them more accurate, and it saves you getting all mucked up on your hands and it all over your catapult as well. I've added salt and chilli into this mix as well, just like I normally do, exactly the same as my spod mix. It's a winning formula, and all I'm really doing is just stiffening it up with the ground bait just so that I can catapult it out there. And once I've been doing it a couple of days, I won't even need the marker float out there anymore. I'll line it up with the trees on the far bank. I know roughly how far I'm going, and because I'm spreading it around a little bit, it doesn't have to be mega tight with the baiting. Almost done now. Looks like a lot of bait, but there's a lot of roach in here as well. They are going to eat some of the ground bait, but at least the bigger bits are going to be left for the carp. And it's nice to give them a little bit of free food during the day, because hopefully they're going to come back and visit this area at night when I'm actually fishing. Right, well that's nearly 20 balls out there. I've made quite a sloppy mix so it breaks up on impact with the surface because I want the bait to go everywhere, to get those fish searching around, grubbing around on the bottom to give myself more of a chance. So I'm going to get these last couple in and get round the other side and show you what other baiting techniques I'm using on this small water. The second baited spot that I've got going out there is just off the corner of that island. I've not bothered using the marker float at all because I know this lake's pretty flat. If there were going to be features out there, I would have a cast around with the marker float. I know there's not, so I'm just fishing just beyond the island. And what I'm doing is scattering boilies all over that area, and in the hope that fish are going to come through and pick up the odd boilie here and there as the week goes on, and just build and build and build on that. So that's the tool that I'm using. That's the easy stick. We can see we've changed the colour of that. It used to be a bright green. We've darkened it down to a nice carpy green colour. New logo as well, and an even slimmer handle. And what that does is it reduces fatigue on your forearm, because the thinner the grip, the less fatigue there is on that forearm there. Now with the boilies, what I've done is taken the Grange out of the freezer bags that it comes in and then transferred it into an air dry bag like that fella there. So it's just going to dry out more and more during the session. It's fresh bait, there's no preservative in it at all, but I can stop that going off over the course of a week or 2 week session just by keeping it in these bags and just keeping it moving around so there's air going through it. If it's a nice day like today, hang it up in the tree, let the air get through it, take away all the moisture, and that'll keep the bait nice and fresh. And what it will also do is stop it splitting as it comes out the throwing stick, because some of these freezer baits are quite soft straight out the bag, and you will find the backspin that's created by the throwing stick will split the baits in half. If that's happening, put them out on your unhooking mat or a carp sack or something like that in the sun, dry all the water off the surface of them, keep drying them out over a day or so. Whatever you do, don't let them get wet, just keep drying them out and they will stop splitting, I promise you. And then what I've done is transferred it into a boilie caddy, which is going around my waist, and that's just helping me get into a rhythm, so that when I'm putting the bait out, it's dropping all in the same spot. And if you watch my technique, basically I'll just move to the front of the swim, and I'm going to start off with the weight just on my back foot there. I'm right-handed, so it's on my right foot. I'm putting in 5 or 6 baits at a time and just spraying them all around the edge of that island. They've just got caught in the wind ever so slightly, so they've gone around the back of it. But they've still hit the water, that's fine. And what I'm going to do is get the carp to start grazing like cattle out there, just picking up a boilie, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. Baiting up in the day and not fishing in the day is Ali's little trick of giving them some free food, and then at night you put the rod out there with a boilie on it and hopefully catch them completely unawares. Now I'm not known for being a boilie angler, I'm known for being a spodder, but I always have mainline bait in my spod mix because I've got so much confidence in it. Whichever one I've used over the years has always done me extremely proud, and often I fish it on the hair. Oh, 2 sploshes there over the top of me, my ground bait on the other side there. I think they might have been small fish, but still activity in the area. But yeah, often I use it as a hook bait as well. Sometimes I fish plastic over the top of it if I want a little tiny pop up, but it's always in the mix, and it's great for feeding in the summertime. And then when it comes to winter, when the boilies, or autumn, when the boilies really come into their own, I swap over to the boilies on all rods, and that's how I get the bigger ones at that time of the year. So even in the summertime when it's red hot and I'm fishing maize as a hook bait or plastic as a hook bait, I've still got boilie in there, I'm still feeding it to them, even if I'm not using it on the hair. And then come later in the year, it goes on then. And one of the few times that I've baited up with boilies like this has been extremely successful with me. I was using a bait called the Cell a couple of winters ago now, and we were baiting up Walthamstow reservoirs, and I'm not really into pre-baiting. I don't like putting out loads of bait in a swim that someone might go straight into and then have them fishing over loads of bait. So we did it at Walthamstow because it was day only fishing, and it meant that if we baited up on our way back to the car in the afternoon, or in the evening should I say, we knew the bait that we'd put out, maybe half a kilo each time we were there, was definitely going to be eaten before the anglers came on the next morning. And what it did over the course of the winter was got the fish moving around the lake, got them feeding all the way through the winter, and not only did we catch a lot of fish, everybody else caught as well, because the fish were used to feeding. And what tends to happen in the winter on those sort of places is people don't put any bait in, everyone fishes single hook baits, and the fish go to ground. And when the conditions are good, you catch them, but when they're not good, you don't. But if you put bait in all the time, just trickling in little amounts all the time, it keeps the fish moving around, it keeps them feeding, and you keep catching them. So that's my little tip for you. Anywhere you're fishing over the course of the winter, keep the bait going in regularly, and it will keep the fish feeding. The worst thing you can do is stop putting bait in. Now I've put out, I don't know, about 50, 60 baits now. Just a nice spread all around the corner of that island. I had fish crashing over this area this morning, and I had a couple of funny pulls. Maybe my rigs are not exactly right, but I know they're out there. And what I'm also doing, which very few people do on these sort of trips, is I'm spreading bait off to the left of my spot as well, and not putting any lines there at all. And the reason for that is it's giving the fish even more opportunity to graze around, feed on the free offerings I'm putting out, and then later in the week, or if earlier in the week if I see fish jumping over the top of it, but certainly later in the week, activity or not, I will put a rod out there, because those fish have had free food for 4 or 5 days and they think it's all nice and safe, and then boom, out goes a rig, and hopefully I'll bag a big one. And a good little tip for doing that sort of fishing, the day before you're going to start fishing, put the boilies into some lake water that you're going to use on the hair and just wash them out, so they look like they've been in the water for 24 hours. We did that at Walthamstow in the winter time, it was brilliant. Took some lake water home with us. When we went back to the car, had a little bucket of lake water, soaked the boilies in it. So the next morning when you came back, the boilies looked like they'd already been out there 24 hours, and that got us lots of bites at that sort of time of the year. Very, very good tip, washing your baits out. So that's pretty much all of it out there, spread over a nice wide area, get the carp grazing, get them moving between baits, use a slightly longer hook link, and I'll bet you by the end of the week we snare a big one.